Good morning and happy August 27th. Let's go over what the assignment for today is. And also, before I get into that, let me mention, if you have not popped into the conference and shared with us your Bartle type, please do that. That's an assignment. You get points for that. We will have the conference up starting at 8:30 when Trey gets in, because Trey's fun to talk to. And he makes the discussions a lot livelier, and it's a lot more fun to talk about all that stuff when he's around. So the assignment for today is you will need, well, not this book, the PDF of this book, which I have provided for you in Schoology. This is a great book. I'm very impressed with it. But let me just open it up for you and let's take a look. So you are going to need this table on pages 24 and 25 of this PDF. This table does a great job of showing you the different console generations. So consoles and computers have been around so long now, or long enough that historians can group them into buckets or generations based on their technical characteristics. We will go into those technical characteristics later. Right now, we're just kind of going on a fact-finding expedition. So you can see that, like Magnavox, the Magnavox Odyssey, that's a first-generation console. We care about console generations. We're going to do 2 through 7. That's what we care about. So you're going to have to pick a console from a particular generation or a computer, and then gather some information on it, and that's what you're going to enter into the assessment. All the questions are the same. They all ask you the same thing. What console did you pick? When was it released? Then you need to go on Wikipedia and look up its CPU and its CPU speed and put that in the answer as well. So every question is going to have 4 answers. It's going to have 4 parts. You'll have to provide a console or computer name, when it was released, what CPU it had, and what the speed of that CPU was in megahertz or gigahertz. Every question asks you the same information. All right, so let me just show you where to find that information, and just so you know what you're supposed to be doing. So here's Schoology, and if you go to the Materials tab and you go into the folder Generation 0, you will see this Video Games and Introduction to the Industry Chapter 1. That is a PDF of the book that I was just holding up. That is where that big chart that you need is. It has all the generations of consoles. So that's, if you can open that, if you can save that to your PC or Mac, or you can open that up in a separate tab, that will make your life a little bit easier. You can also view it directly in Schoology, but it's just kind of nicer if you have it as a separate document. It'll just, that you won't have to refer back and forth quite as much. So that's where you are going to get that chart. You can open that up and view that directly in Schoology. That's where you'll find that chart of all the console generations. Now, let me go show you that chart in the PDF. So here I've opened up that PDF, and let me just go into the little menu bar at the top, and I'm going to type in 24 and jump to page 24 there. So page 24 has got the generations of consoles. Now imagine 25 next to it, and you can see them. You'll be able to see them line up. But do you really need page 24? Not really. Let's go to page 25, and you can see here are our console generations. The Magnavox Odyssey is at the top here. That's generation 1. We don't care about that. We're going to be looking at generations 2 through 7. So you're going to pick a console from one of these generations, write down the, let me zoom in there a little bit, write down the year it was introduced. You can get that right off of the chart here. And then you're going to look at that console or computer that you picked up on Wikipedia to get the remaining information. So you can get the console or the PC and the release year off of this chart. Then you want to look that console or PC or console or computer up on Wikipedia to get the CPU and the CPU speed. That will give you all the information you need to answer a particular question. Let's pop over to Wikipedia and see what their articles look like, because their articles are very good and they're very well organized, and they make finding the information very, very easy. So I'm going to just arbitrarily say I'm going to pick the TRS-80 from 1977, and let me go show you what the Wikipedia page for that computer looks like. So here's Wikipedia's entry on the TRS-80, and if you read a little bit, you will see, okay, 1977, this is the right computer, in fact. And let's scroll down. So what you're looking for is this table on the right. This is going to tell you everything you need to know. It will say when it was released, and you can, that'll tell you if you've got the right thing or not. And notice down here it says CPU Zilog Z80 at 1.774 megahertz. So that's the CPU. It has a Zilog Z80 running at 1.774 megahertz. So that's all the information for your any particular question you can get actually out of this table on the right. The computer or console, when it was introduced, what CPU it has, how fast, did that CPU run, what was its clock speed in megahertz. Most of these will be in megahertz. Some of the later ones might be in gigahertz. So that's all you need to know, right? Every question is going to say, pick a console from generation 1, generation 2, generation 3, generation 4, generation 5, right? It's the same process over and over again. Pick a console, write down its release year, its CPU, and its CPU speed. All right. So that's all you need to do for that for any particular question, is just provide those 4 pieces of information. Why are we doing this? I'm glad you asked. We are going to, once we've gathered up all this information, tomorrow we'll go live and we'll have a live kind of group activity. And I'm going to ask people about the console that they picked. So be prepared to discuss or have on hand that information that you gathered, because I'm going to call somebody out. I'll say, okay, so-and-so, what did you pick from generation 3? When was it introduced? What CPU did it have, and what was its clock speed? And we will graph all of this information to see what patterns do or do not emerge. I have my suspicions, but anytime you go live and you add other people to the mix and you can't control the data, who knows what, maybe we'll see what we want to see, maybe we won't see what we want to see. But either way, we're going to talk about a very important concept in computing tomorrow, and we're going to use this data that we gather as the starting point for that discussion. So if you have any questions on what I just said, what those instructions are, you can stop into the conference later. We'll have that up for talking about Bartle types. If you can also message me through Schoology, you can email me, those all work too. So if you have any questions on what information you're supposed to gather, just contact me. I will be happy to put you on the right track, and then have that information on hand, because tomorrow we're going to discuss it. So happy Thursday, and if there's anything I can provide for you, just let me know, and I will be happy to assist you.